the real, news of the moment is about a week ago, an organization, they have a website, Health Policy Watch, um, obtained the latest version, not of the amendments, but of the other new agreement, which many people call the Pandemic Treaty. Tedros always calls it the Pandemic Accord, but it's had many, 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 many different names. But it's really a framework convention for pandemic um, prevention, preparedness, and response. And names matter, and it gives an insight into what's really going on. And so they published about a week ago the latest version. And my encouragement to everybody is go read it
Okay.
because it's not what you think it is. If you have any idea of what you might think it is, because what has been happening is a lot of people have been talking about the amendments, but everybody just says, oh, the treaty. When Tedros Ghebreyesus, the Director General, talks about all of this, most of the time he will say that the accord or the pandemic accord
Uh-huh.
doesn't give him power, doesn't do this, doesn't do
Correct.
that, but
Correct.
he almost never talks about the amendments.
Let's play that clip if we can. So this was the Director General of the World Health Organization. I'm sorry, he was speaking at the World Government Summit, and clearly the work of you, James, and many others, kind of bringing all this to light, has been striking a chord in Geneva. People know that people are paying attention.
The second major barrier is the litany of lies and conspiracy theories about the agreement. That it's a power grab by the World Health Organization, that it will cede sovereignty to WHO, that it will give WHO power to impose lockdowns or vaccine mandates on countries, that it's an attack on freedom, that WHO will not allow people to travel, and that WHO wants to control people's lives. These are some of the lies that are being spread. If these lies weren't so dangerous, these lies would be funny. But they put the health of the world's people at risk. And that is no laughing matter. These claims are utterly, completely, categorically false. The pandemic agreement will not give WHO any power over any state or any individual for that matter. Anyone who says it will is either uninformed or lying.
Now, there's one little thing that he said at the beginning that I do disagree with, but he says in the agreement.
Ah.
Oh, but we don't get to see the amendments in their current state.
So the
Okay.
amendments are the amendments to the international health regulations. The agreement is a separate document that has yet to come into existence. It's being negotiated now. Yeah?
That's correct. And the
Okay.
amendments, we have a 1-year-old version. We don't
Right.
really know what the current state of play there is,
Okay.
but he
So that
universally
little bullet
says,
point list that he just made may not apply to this new pandemic agreement that has yet to come into life, but it may apply to the amendments to the IHR, which we haven't seen.
and so he's correct. If anyone has mixed it all up and
Mhm.
said, oh, we're reading the year-old version of the amendments, but when they talk about it, they say the treaty or the accord or whatever. So technically, whoever is the puppet master that's writing his speeches, technically he's absolutely correct about the amendment. I'm sorry, about the treaty not doing any of those things. What is actually in this document will probably surprise the vast majority of people who are watching this who've been paying attention, because you have to realize what they're negotiating is to settle a trade dispute. It's about how, not the WHO. Okay, so when he says it wouldn't give the director general or it wouldn't give the WHO power and authority, that's because they want to create a whole new bureaucracy and give that bureaucracy authority and power and a whole lot of money. So I don't know if you're able to share the screen on stopthetreaty.org, but there's a little gray flyer that I've put together that has the top 12 reasons. Number one, it's a framework convention that would set up a bureaucracy that would meet year after year after year to distribute all of the contracts and to essentially work out the details and the protocols that they don't necessarily plan on settling by May. It's kind of like signing a blank check or signing an open ended contract and letting the other party work on all of the details. And so they want to spend billions of dollars to build out the pharmaceutical hospital emergency industrial complex. And the starting point is what they call a pathogen access and benefit sharing system. Now, if you can recall what happened in South Africa and Botswana, they found what they believed to be a new variant. It was very different than everything else. They ended up naming it Omicron. And South Africa and Botswana did what they felt they were supposed to do. They made that publicly available to the world, and they were met with travel restrictions, which is a violation of the regulations. Really, their nations are not supposed to punish nations for being transparent. And then what happened was Pfizer and Moderna turned that into the boosters and made a couple of more $1 billion. And so the low and middle income nations are looking at that going, wait a minute, that's corporate colonialism. They came in and gained access to this raw material, if you will, this pathogen. It used to be forestry products or iron ore or oil and gas or gold and diamonds and whatever nations would pillage and plunder and take back as part of the colonial outlook of these nations are just there to be plundered. Well, the new version of those natural resources are genetic sequences of pathogens. If you think about it, the initial sequence that came out of China was worth what, hundreds of billions of dollars ultimately. They're not having it anymore. They want in on the game. It's like, hey, if we find a pathogen, we want to profit from making the jabs to jab our own people. Now, that's crazy. Hundreds of people have already recorded little videos voicing their
Mhm.
opinions. And you can find all of those on screwthewho.com. Now, many of those are older, and we now have a new version of the documents. So I encourage people to read the documents, pick out a piece of it that you think, if you like it and you think it's wonderful and you fall for the sugary sweet propaganda in chapter 1, then, go ahead, throw out some WHO positive propaganda.
Mhm.
But if you read chapters 2 and chapters 3 and pick out a sentence or a paragraph or a whole article and quote it, take a screenshot of it, take a video of it, and express your opinion about it, because the way they operate is if you're silent, they assume that you're cool with it.
Right.
Everything is on jamesroguski.substack.com, jamesroguski.substack.com. And I encourage anybody who's got questions, just give me a call, 310-619-3055. If you're outside the US, you can send me a text message or Signal or Telegram or WhatsApp. So don't be shy.
Yeah.
Give me a phone call. I don't know everything, but I have been deep down the rabbit hole with this for 2 years, and I want other people to comprehend this game that is being played, because I have every belief that the common average man, woman, and quite frankly, child can understand what is really going on here. And universally, people's response is, oh, hell no. And when we get enough people to be aware, um, we will stop this in its tracks. I have no doubt. There have been many, 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 many people around the world who have awakened to this already. And if you understand exponential growth, this is going to blow up in their face. So